Like a lot of you, I'm pretty hyped for the upcoming Elektron Digitakt. I've ordered one for myself, and I'm going to be reviewing it as soon as I possibly can. Please be patient with me. But in the meantime, just to get myself reacquainted with the general user interface, I pulled out the Digitakt and quickly rediscovered that this thing is a Techno beast. So that's what I want to walk you through today. So that's a super quick jam. Let's get into the individual elements. And I want to draw your attention to how the Digitakt really goes a long way to turn samples into synths in its own way. And this whole workflow is the big reason why I'm so hyped for a properly synthesis-based device like this. But let's jump into the individual elements, starting with the kick. So this is a sample from my $5 sample pack, link in the description. And I've got some processing on this, mainly the overdrive. So it's already a fairly driven kick. And I've got some reverb on it as well. So here's it raw. Overdrive. Reverb to kind of draw it out a bit more. And it's got a really nicely well-defined bass that is tuned to C, so everything else, I just had to double check that it was tuned the same. This is sampled from the Model Cycles, another Elektron product, and this is also a sample that's in my free sample pack, and this one is also quite overdriven. You know, the volume boost that made. And other than that, it's pretty dry. I've cut off the attack with the envelope just a little bit. I don't want these to fight too much. They do fight a little bit, and if I was to record the individual tracks over overbridge, which I might at some point, I would probably sidechain this element to my main chunky kick. And speaking of sidechain, I should mention I have gone into the master, and I have done some shenanigans with the compressor, and I'm doing it like a bit of parallel sidechaining. This uses the same sidechain system that the Polyend Tracker uses, although I'm aware that this came first. I don't love it, but I am at least getting a bit of pumping, kind of ducking stuff to the kick subtly a bit, which is helping bring the track to life. So, back to the individual elements. Super dry, open hi-hat. So far, this is what we've got. Just a fun little 2-bar groove. And then we add this snare. And this is where the groove really came to life for me. So there's nothing crazy going on here in terms of the source or the filter settings. That'll come later for later sounds. But of course, the big attraction here is the delay. And if I go into the delay settings, the thing that's fun about this is that the time is very nearly like exactly quantized to the beat, but it's meant to be just a little bit late. And that's where you get all these flam effects. And that's what gives this delay its swing. All the delays are hitting just a little bit late. So these are my settings. I've set it to ping pong. I've rolled off some lows. And I really like the way it interacts with the groove and basically creates the groove. So that's the first kind of more interesting element, but let's move on to some sample pseudo synthesis. where I'm really using everything I have access to in my arsenal. So this is another sample from my $5 sample pack. The tuning is the same. You're going to see the sample again, actually, but we'll get to that in a second. So I've got the bit reduction turned up a bit. It gives it this crispiness that's really helping it poke out of the mix. I've got the filter going. I love the filter in the Digitakt, and I've got the resonance cranked a bit. I've got the envelope up, so it's just sweeping downwards. And you can hear how it's moving. That's because the filter position is also sent to the LFO. And I'm just very subtly moving the filter cutoff back and forth over time. So it's never quite hitting the same spot 2 times in a row. So sometimes it's more open, sometimes it's more clamped down. And then the other LFO is getting sent to the bit reduction. So that's fluctuating as well. So this synth is constantly evolving. And of course, I've got it sent a bunch to the reverb and a bit to the delay, so it's bouncing back and forth in your ears, and it's just this massive sound. So let me show you at least closer to what it sounded like originally. This becomes that, which is just excellent, if I do say so myself. Like, I like the feature set that this gives me for some synthesis sound design. I'm turning samples into synths here. So in this case, for this element, I've tuned it an octave down, and then I don't think I'm doing anything on the LFOs on this one, but I'm also overdriving it and reverbing it a bit. Both words that I've just verbed. So you notice how all 3 of these elements kind of fill up different parts of the frequency spectrum, so they're not fighting, even though these 2 both come from the same bass element. And this is fun. So this is a pad, also from my sample pack, tuned up an octave, and in this case, I've got it reversed. I think it just sounded nice. And I've also got the attack turned to be quite slow, and the reverb is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. You can hear that little tail on it. And this is another double LFO element. First of all, reverb and delay again. So once again, I've got one LFO scooting the bit reduction around, and then the other one is actually changing the pitch. So here's that with the kick. So that is the walkthrough, and real quick for those of you who are curious, yes, I have rearranged my room and changed up my set. I'll do a studio tour on my second channel once I've locked down a few more things, but you'll probably see this flip back and forth because I've stockpiled some other videos. All that aside, if you'd like to see some more Digitakt and some more techno, you can click or tap up over here, and I'll be back with a new video in a little bit. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching.